introduce Valerie Beason to you. She's super excited to be here and she's not scared at all. So I need everyone to give her a round of applause. Have all this positive energy going towards her. She's doing a fantabulous job. That's the word I'm using today. So let me introduce Valerie Beason. Valerie Beason is a licensed professional counselor in the state of Missouri and practices in Lake St. Louis. She earned her BS from Washington University in St. Louis in industrial and organizational psychology and her MA in counseling at Lindenwood University. Valerie has many years of experience in the corporate world and was employed at BJC Healthcare for over 22 years in physician services and SSM Behavioral Health for 4 years in business development. Currently, in addition to her private practice, she also serves as a resident therapist at SSM Executive Health, assessing over 1,900 first responders in the Metro St. Louis area for their mental health wellness screenings. Her style is energetic and positive, and while the bulk of her practice is first responders, she enjoys working with women, men, and couples who may be experiencing depression, anxiety, work stress, past hurts, codependency, and/or trauma and grief. Valerie meets clients where they are in a safe, non-judgmental environment and feels most everyone can benefit from a mental health checkup at some point in their lives. And now I turn it over to the fabulous Valerie Beason.
I want to talk to you today about boundaries in the workplace, how to mean what you say and say what you mean. In my private practice, I work a lot on boundaries and assertive communication. I think a lot gets lost in communication, and I work with my clients on being assertive, not passive, not aggressive, and we will go over those styles. I have many, many years in the corporate culture, and a lot has changed. And I think today we're going to focus on maybe some of the maybe the lighter stuff and throw some humor into this. These are heavy times right now. So some of this may be a review for some people, but it's sometimes we need a good review. And I think we're going to go ahead without further ado. If I know how to, can everyone see this now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's get started. So let's see, return. Okay, so today's objectives are our definition of boundary. We've got healthy versus unhealthy, and then we're going to talk about the communication styles that I alluded to earlier, the passive, assertive, aggressive. We're going to talk about how to incorporate some healthy boundaries into the workplace. And then last but not least, how to maintain a healthy work-life balance. I don't really know if that exists 100%, but we're gonna try to tackle that one. So let's go to the next slide. Let's see. It's not letting me forward. Okay. Okay. What is a boundary? Okay. So it is your space, their space, and then it's like the middle in between. So PowerPoint now is wonderful because it gives you all of these like pictures and like formats and things like that. So actually this showed up into one of the online pictures, but I thought this was a good kind of a replication of what a boundary is. So I use a lot of Cloud and Townsend in my practice, and it's a really great book. It looks like this. There's been a lot of different editions of this, and it's a must read for all. They've got one for teens, kids, relationships. But what their definition is a boundary is a line of demarcation that separates one entity from another. It defines where one thing ends and another begins. I thought that was a really good definition of that. So boundaries can pertain to physical or verbal proximity. They can also be geographical, professional, or personal. And then they influence how we allow others to treat us and how we wanted to be treated. I think that last definition is very important, and a lot of the focus will be on that. Okay, I am in all these therapist groups on Facebook. Pretty much that's the only reason I'm on Facebook anymore. But I love some of these things, and hopefully I'm gonna send the PowerPoint to Thomas or Carissa or Jeremy, and you can have some of these. And I don't know, I have to post these like on my mirror, on my fridge. But I really thought this little meme to the left sounded really good. You know, the be true to yourself and say yes when you mean it. And we're gonna talk about how no is a sentence. No, we don't have to have anything after the no. Anyway, I want to talk about a healthy boundary. It's we interact with people effectively, know what you will and will not allow others to do. It's again that how we want to be treated, right? Do not violate the space of others. We do not take on the responsibility of others. We can set limits and be productive and engaging. And this isn't on the slide, but I want you to kind of listen to this list and take kind of a mental note if maybe you in your own personal, professional life may be overstepping your boundaries. So, and then I can scan this and send it as well. But I just want to read a couple of them. It's so interesting because I give this list to my clients and they come back with the checklist. They're like, oh, I think I checked every single one, but there's hope. We can work on this. So a couple of them are think and feel responsible for other people, feel compelled to help others solve their problems, find yourself saying yes when you mean no. How about feel bored or empty if you don't have a crisis to solve or someone to help? How about feeling hurried or pressured or angry, unappreciated or used, or worry about a lot of things and find it difficult to ask for help? You know, we're all super people. We think that we can do everything. And so that is just, that's just not possible. So I don't know, that's a very long list, but I think that a lot of these things speak to us sometimes. And just having knowledge is a start in the power to change. Okay. So let's talk about some unhealthy boundaries. I love this little photo here. How many times do we feel like we need to put some police tape around us in our bubble and just like, you know, please, not today, folks. So we're violating the personal space of others. We trust too easily and overshare. Don't we have all those coworkers that I don't know, you know, sometimes we feel like we've got, please tell me all your problems written on our forehead. And it's just this TMI and it's just oversharing. And then at that point you just say, I think maybe you need to go see a therapist. No, you don't really need to say that, but well, I don't know, sometimes. So sometimes we feel responsible for other people's behavior and feelings, and we tolerate those unhealthy behaviors from others, and that gets us into trouble as well. Okay, I love this. It's like, and that is why we lift on 3. So the title of my talk was how to mean what you say and say what you mean. And I think that's very important with boundaries, that we have assertive communication. And so I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the assertive versus the passive and aggressive. So I've been reading a lot of articles, and I think that this is pretty well known that verbal, the nonverbals are very important. They say, I read an article that it's 70 to 93% of communication. So I love this because we've got the lying, the hiding, the hostile, you know, when we've got the arms crossed, aggressive, and I love the think that you're stupid. I guess that I'm going to stop putting my hands in my pockets. I love pockets, but I definitely don't want to portray think you're stupid. I don't know. I've never seen that. I thought this was kind of a funny picture. So yeah, I no hands in pockets, I guess. Okay, let's talk about passive. Passive communication is, you're vague, we put ourselves down, we might be submissive, they talk very little, maybe kind of a mousy, kind of a meek way of talking, avoids the eye contact, they may look down, and they're feeling a little bit like they're cowering maybe, and that's why they're making their body look smaller, the leaning, and that passive communication is, I think, we get in sometimes a defense mode, and we may feel like doing that when somebody is talking to us aggressively. So your hands may be kind of clasped together and they're getting clammy like mine are right now. And you may give in easily to others. You're very, very self-critical. I want to talk a little bit about self-critical. I think sometimes our internal dialogue just gets the best of us. And I tell my clients, we have a talk about this, and I say to them, it's like, would you talk to a complete stranger on the street, the way you talk to yourself. And about 99.9% of the time they said, absolutely not, they wouldn't do that. So self-criticism and our inner dialogue, we need to watch that. And then I love this last one, miserable. Yes, you know, when we have this passive communication, sometimes we portray like we are miserable. And some of the beliefs with this are that you're okay, I'm not. So we need to watch if we're kind of displaying some of these passive traits. The next one is aggressive. I call these my angry elves. So in my, so 90% of my private practice is first responders, and that includes police officers, firefighters, and paramedics. And I just love them all. I have such a heart for that population. But I sometimes see some angry elves. And I don't know if you are familiar with the anger iceberg, and I didn't put that slide in here, but it's very powerful. So think of an iceberg and think of anger being at the tip of the iceberg. So we see anger. So we see that, and we see that angry elf. But what we don't see is what is below the angry elf. We don't see PTSD. We don't see depression. We don't see the trauma. We don't see abuse, anxiety. You can feel a lot of that in. So a lot of angry elves are also bullies. I like to remind people that hurting people hurt people. And that's on one of the bullet points here. But so we need to get kind of to the bottom of that anger. And when I kind of, you know, describe this to my clients and, you know, they seek to kind of understand why somebody is angry, it's a whole different perspective on dealing with the angry elf. Not that the angry elf's behavior is good, and you don't have to tolerate that. It's a seek to understand why someone may be that way. Okay, that was way off topic, but I talk a lot about that. So we know these angry elves, right? They are know-it-alls. I mean, they got a topper to every story. You know, you climbed Mount Everest, they've climbed it twice. I mean, we know these people, right? They're harsh, they're sarcastic, they talk over. There's not a lot of active listening with the aggressive communicator. And I could do a whole session on active listening. I think a lot of times when, you know, we seek to kind of say the next thing, and active listening is really an art. And that's something to be practiced as well as the assertive communication skills. A lot of angry elves, they believe they are entitled to their way because they are right. We know these people, right? And I think I've deleted all of them off social media because to me, social media was puppies and dogs and kitties, and I want to see pictures of your food. I know people sometimes don't like that, but you know, the bullies, it's that kind of a bullying mentality, right? So let's talk about kind of how their body language may be. You know, their eyes may be narrow and expressionless. They might have their, you know, fist clenched, and they might be pointing their finger, kind of getting in your face. And what their belief may be, and I didn't put this on the bullet point, is I'm okay, you're not. They're very upsetting. You know, they're very intimidating. They are can be sometimes a little manipulative. So they're, like I said, they feel angry. They're the angry elf, and they may be very resentful. And that last point I've already talked about, the hurting people hurt people. So those are two communication styles that probably don't work well with boundaries. So let me go to oh wait, here we go. Assertive communication, now we're talking. So assertive communication, your actions and expressions fit with the words that are spoken. So it's the body language, it's the clear message, it's using your I messages. So I do a fair amount of couples counseling with my first responders, and we talk about the I messages. So the I messages is not a point your finger blame game in your face. It's I felt hurt when. It's just remembering that when you use your I feels, and you know, that sounds kind of woo-woo sometimes, but it really does work because you're telling folks how you feel. So you're firm, but you're polite. You have a clear message on what you want to say. And this makes you respectful of yourself, and it makes you respectful of others. Your eye contact is friendly and welcoming. You're not sitting there like that person, like, or the hands in the pockets. You're sitting with you're sitting openly, or you have an open stance. You also believe that I skipped one, I'm sorry, that you believe that everyone deserves respect. We can all agree to disagree. We don't have to attend to every argument we're invited to. I work a lot, like I said, with couples, and I work a lot with the first responders and the boundaries in their workplace, which is very different than corporate America sometimes. Not sometimes, it is. And it is, you know, I tell people if they get into conversations that they're not comfortable with, it's okay to say, I'm not comfortable with this conversation, and walk away. When I work with couples and we work on escalation, we work on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being kind of what we're having now. We're having a very, well, this isn't a sharing conversation, but my tone is even, it's low, and that I would call that a 1. A 10 for most couples is like you're laying hands on someone, you are screaming at the top of your lungs, you're punching walls. And so I tell folks that when they get to a 3 or a 4, and that could be some escalation of language, there needs to be a timeout. And so I want people to kind of remember that, not that you shove it under the rug and we never come back to the disagreement, but it's very important that we are like sometimes little kids, and we need a timeout when we throw a tantrum. So anyway, and again, I just wanted to reiterate, we can agree to disagree. I talked about our body language is relaxed, open, and welcoming. The consequence to this is we have a good relationship with others. And folks know that we can communicate in an assertive way, but we also have a very good boundary with this. Folks, they seek out people that have good communication skills, and they are good listeners. Compromise. So we compromise when we have assertive communication skills. You know, the agree to disagree. We walk away and we feel like it was a productive conversation. And this can happen in the personal and professional realm. Okay. So tips on assertiveness. Respect yourself, your needs, ideas, and rights are important. Even though we may have different ideas about others, we deserve to be heard. And we don't deserve to be dismissed. We don't deserve to be put down, name called, anything like that. Our rights are very important. And then I talked about the calmly express your feelings. And I talked about that 1 to 10 scale. Plan and practice. I know this sounds a little odd, but sometimes if we know we're going to have maybe a difficult conversation, if I have my clients say, just kind of write it down. You know, it's kind of like going to the doctor's office and you forget to ask like the 5 questions you wanted to ask the physician or your healthcare provider because of that white coat syndrome or whatever it is. You know, having it written down, not, you know, a book, but just kind of plan that out and practice what you're going to say. I think that's very important because a lot of times we walk away from conversations and like, oh, I forgot. I really wanted to express my feeling on that. And I missed the opportunity because I was so caught up in the moment. Remember that no is a sentence. We don't have to say no, but no, and I think that we get in this trap of we feel like we need to please everyone and not say the word no. This also is a very practiced art, and I could say because I've been in the workforce quite a while, and I consider myself an older person. This is practice. This does not come easily. I think this comes from a little bit of emotional maturity and it's never too early to learn this. But I think if I want you to remember anything, remember the word no as a sentence. Okay, so I am going to play. So I love The Office, okay? And that has there must be a million examples on violating boundaries in that whole series. But I thought this was pretty cute. And I'm gonna try to play this. And I don't know, Thomas, you might have to help me. So
Yes. To do video, I like to always make note is press share screen again.
okay.
Then there should be a little check box at the bottom left that says share computer audio. And you'll need to check that before you
Share computer sound, got it?
Yes, you got it.
Okay,
and then you should be good to go.
Okay, so I'm gonna share. And then, oh, it's telling me my password. That's a little odd. Okay, this detect my microphone.
If your office feels like a sitcom, could be a case of life imitating art. Etiquette expert Thomas Farley is clocking in with the basics of office etiquette.
Since we are working in such close confines and spending so much time, probably more time with our coworkers than we are with our own family members, to think about how your little actions may have ripple effects on the way somebody else is able to work.
And it starts at the top, especially with a brutish boss like Miranda Priestley in The Devil Wears Prada.
So sorry, Miranda. I actually did confirm last
Details of
night.
your incompetence do not interest me.
You want to lead by example, not lead by the bad example that the higher-ups are setting for you. But the key really is that common consideration.
Next, if courtesy isn't so common in your office, just be happy you're not with Dwight Schrute in his office.
Do you mind?
So having those conversations about personal hygiene, about personal workplace habits, those I think are best had by people who are actually friendly with one another in the workplace.
I'm sorry, Pam. Allow me to write you an apology letter.
So Dwight can be courteous, but what if you work with someone like Michael Scott?
What do you want to say, Michael?
But when it comes to noise levels in offices, I think you have to realize this is a working office and not a library.
Finally, what happens when work friends fight?
You are not going to solve a misunderstanding with an email. The best way to solve that, pick up the phone. It's the most underused tool in the office, and it will help you cut through so much nonsense.
Boy, have you lost your mind, because I'll help you find it.
Lesson learned? From the office to your office, mind your manners. That's on the to-do list.
Okay, so yeah, like I said, there could be a million examples of The Office, and there's a lot of things that I'm not getting into in this presentation, but I just thought that did kind of a good kind of an overview. And we all work with those people, right? We work with the nosy neighbor. We work with someone who may not have the best personal hygiene. But I think there was really something important in that little clip that talked about pick up the phone. You know, I think picking up the phone and having a face-to-face conversation, especially, this is kind of a different world we live in 2020, but I see this a lot with my younger clients. My younger clients, it's a lot of texting, and there's a lot of not good interpretation that goes on with texting. So, so picking up the phone and having a conversation, even though you maybe cannot see those nonverbals, and sometimes things gets lost in, and I know they talked about emails, gets lost in that too. So sometimes we don't pick up the right tone, or we misinterpret our tone. So just again, pick up the phone. I know a lot of times people are like, I don't like to talk on the phone. Sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes we have to do that. So anyway, the Office is just an amazing, funny show. And I find myself, whenever I'm getting in a bad mood or need some positivity, I just click on an episode of The Office and just have a few laughs. Very important. Okay.
If you're
okay, sorry about that, folks. So let's talk about some boundary violations in the workplace. And so we're going to talk about physical, mental, emotional, and verbal. A little caveat about physical. I am not going to go into sexual harassment, someone laying hands on you, racial harassment or cultural harassment. That is a do not pass go, do not collect $200. That is an immediate phone call to HR, your supervisor. That is just not tolerated. So talking about maybe some other minor infractions here, to me, those are they are very major things, and those need to be addressed right away. So, okay, let's talk about physical. I love this little Dilbert. I don't know, I'm a little older. I remember when Dilbert was in like the Sunday paper. I don't know if Dilbert still is, but I thought this was pretty funny that we do have those people that just kind of invade our personal space, and the more we stand back, the closer they become. So just need that like invisible bubble, right? Okay. They're standing too close, they're violating. So this is a very weird time. I put in here handshake, hugging, or fist bump. I should have put elbow bump, I guess, because a lot of people will elbow bump. This is a weird time if you're a hugger, folks. Not that hugging is acceptable in the corporate world. Handshakes obviously are, but some of us are huggers, and this has been very hard not to be able to hug our loved ones or our friends. But there's some cultural things with this too, so we need to be aware of the cultural differences as well. Borrowing or touching of people's personal belongings. Ooh, for someone, this is a huge boundary violation. I don't care if it's somebody's lunch in the refrigerator, if you're, borrowing someone's stapler, never returning it, you're returning it empty without staples. It's just common courtesy. But that is a big boundary violation for some people. They like their things, they have order, they have it on their desk the way they want it. So that would be an example of a physical violation. Let's talk about a little bit about mental and emotional boundary violations. We talked about in some of this in the communication section, but dismissing our coworkers or employees' feelings. We all have that need to feel heard, and when we don't feel heard, we feel dismissed and we feel disrespected. A lot of times, folks, of course, we need a paycheck to pay our bills and live on. But I have read some articles in the past about people sometimes just need a good pat on the back and say, "You're doing a good job," or "I hear you, and you are important to this organization. You are valued." I work a lot with like love languages, and that is words of affirmation. And some people that's their language, and they need to be told that. We've all maybe had jobs where we just don't feel appreciated, and that really sets us up for not wanting to go to work, for a little, withdrawn at work. So, and I think when we feel appreciated, we go that extra mile sometimes. It's like, gosh, I'm really appreciated. Not that you need to, violate a boundary with this, but we just, we just feel like we want to put in a little extra effort. Feeling vulnerable when you protect other people from you, but not protecting yourself from others. This would be maybe an example of some passive communication. You're not validating yourself. You're not validating your own feelings. And I see this a lot too in my practice of wanting to solve others' issues, deflecting. See a lot of deflecting as well. So that's what I mean by that statement. Indicating by word or action that another person is worth less. This kind of goes along with the disrespect and not being heard. When we feel like we don't matter and we're worth less, again, that sets us up to be withdrawn. It's like, okay, well, I don't feel heard in this group, so I guess I'm just not going to say anything. And so over time, that really is, it's really not good for the work environment and for you to be in that environment. Taking feedback personally. So I work a lot with this too, and I think if your boss or an employee is saying something in an assertive way, and they are giving you some constructive feedback, I think sometimes we have a hard time feeling like it's not a personal attack. And I think that, when someone maybe is giving us some feedback, we need to have some clarification statements. I'm not really understanding what you're saying. Would you please clarify that with me? And that is using some assertive communication in that style. And that's very powerful. So taking feedback personally at work, at home, with our friends, there's certain way things are said, and sometimes we do get our feelings hurt, and that's okay to say. I felt like the way you said that, or way that was worded, or the way that came across, I'm feeling this way about it. And then that just opens up a really healthy dialogue, and that's important in all relationships. Verbal. Yelling, screaming, or making fun of another. Boy, I sure hope that doesn't happen in the workplace, but I've seen it. It does. People get elevated. It's very emotional. Some folks have issues in their personal lives, and they maybe don't have that boundary of leaving it at home, and that does happen. Lying. I love that little picture again about the person that was lying. I guess you can also tell that with maybe eye shifting and things like that. Attempting to bully or control or manipulate another. Sarcasm. I think a lot of folks use sarcasm, and it's a deflective. It's a defense mechanism. But some sarcasm. I think there's ways to use sarcasm and ways not to use sarcasm. I think some people confuse maybe sarcasm with a little humor, and I didn't put humor in here. I mean, we need to laugh at work. I mean, we've got to have some humor. This is a pretty tough world we live in right now, and we've got to have some smiles and some lightness, I guess, if you will. Interrupting, the not active listening. It's, once again, I talked about this earlier. I'm just kind of reiterating some of these topics. The active listening is, I thought this was going to be a really hard one for me in grad school, because I mean, I love talking. I love getting to know people. I love getting to know their story. And I'm always thinking about the next question. That's not active listening though. Active listening is really, it's sitting down, it's standing up, and really seeking to understand what that other person is saying. I just learned a technique the other day. It's the 10-10-10 rule. So you have a conversation with another person. This could work at work too. 10 minutes, they speak. It's like at the Grace and Frankie, the talking stick. You give somebody a talking stick and they talk for 10 minutes. Okay, so 10 minutes, you set a timer, whatever. No interruptions, complete active listening. Take a break, process, and then come back, and the other person talks for 10 minutes, process to 10 minutes, and then come back. And I really like that. I learn more from my clients than I ever did in a book or going to school. I mean, they're just the smartest people that I've ever met in my life. But I'm like, that is a really good tool. And I was thinking about that. I heard this yesterday. I'm like, we could use that in the workplace too. And that might be a really good tool for difficult conversations. All right. Oops. I skipped a slide. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened. Hold on. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties here. Okay, I don't know what happened to that slide, but I'm just going to go ahead and read it because it's skipping ahead to my end slides. I have set limits, okay? And this is a big one, folks. And I have on here, communicate, communicate, communicate. You saw that in a different slide I had. And I said assertively, of course. And also the set limits. And I want to talk a little bit about setting the boundaries outside of work. This is hard for a lot of us because in this technical age, we can check something 24/7. We can be virtual 24/7, 365. But it is important and imperative that we disconnect from this, and we set aside time to disconnect. And so I have on, if you don't check work emails, take emails or text, or take phone calls on the weekends or after business hours, you need to make your boss or your employees or coworkers aware of this. Of course, there may be some extenuating circumstances to this boundary, but it's good to let everyone know up front. Again, this is assertive communication. And then I have, again, on here, practice saying no in certain situations. And I wish I had this slide, and I'll make sure that when I send it to Thomas or Jeremy or Carissa, that you get the whole presentation. Thanks for bearing with me. Also, when you assert boundaries at home, with friends, family, or at work, it may equal a negative reaction, okay? And what I mean by this is not everyone is gonna like your boundaries. Okay, there's a lot of folks that, you know, if they like to control and manipulate, and when you set firm boundaries, they're not, it's going to have a negative reaction. So, but I also want you to know that this is a sign that your boundaries are working. Okay, so it's not setting boundaries to make people upset. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that when you incorporate and practice boundaries, and people, that person isn't used to that, that's a sign that it's working. So let's see. Okay. I ran across the 4 agreements, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with the 4 agreements, but I thought, wow, this really works in the workplace. So I'm not going to read all of this because I'm going to send these slides off to you. So these are just, don't take it personally. Don't make assumptions. Don't make assumptions. I just want to talk a little bit about this. So the don't make assumptions, that is a cognitive distortion, and that is used a lot for therapists when we do something called cognitive behavioral therapy with our clients. That's kind of the gold standard that therapists use. Basically what it means is stinking thinking. And we're not mind readers. We're not fortune tellers. And if there is something that is said, you know, don't make an assumption. I would ask, don't make that assumption, right? So, you know what, maybe I did have these slides. Seek advice from your boss or mentor. We all have had those best bosses, right? And our best bosses that we've ever had were great leaders, and we felt like they had our backs, and they were very professional, they were very respectful, and they allowed us to talk, right? Have the discussion with your boss or employee about regarding priorities. I want, you know, maybe you each prioritize those items, and then you come together and you negotiate. They could be a little bit different. Let's see. Well, I did have the slides. Sorry, didn't have my paper copy right. So we already talked about this. Already talked about that. Okay, summary. Gosh, that went fast. So here we go. Communicate assertively. Practice it, right? Practice saying no. If you have to get in front of the mirror to say no, do that. Communicate your clear expectations. Give yourself permission. Seek support. Folks, we aren't in this alone. Seek support from a trusted friend, mentor, your boss, leader, a therapist. Everyone needs a therapist. I think there's this misconception that you have to be severely and persistently mentally ill to have a therapist, and that is just simply not true. We're there to be objective and listen, and you as the client have all the tools. We just help you kind of navigate through the tools. So, and then the practice, and then I put another couple of slides in here. Again, that's why I'm in these groups on Facebook. I love this. I love how boundaries sound like. I can stay for a half an hour. Thank you for your offer. Unfortunately, I can't make it. That's a no, but that's really kind of a nice no. I am not comfortable discussing that. Again, this is all using the eyes. Please do not discuss it with me. I love this one with the gal up top to the right. I need time to think about it. I'll come back to it. It's okay. We don't have to have the answer right away. We can say, I need to process that. Can we meet? We can reconvene in 5 minutes. So there's another thing. I don't respond to work emails. I'm not comfortable with that. I respect your opinion, but this is my life and my decision. Ooh, I love that one. That could be used in many different. So kind of to repeat this on the other side, that's just kind of a reiteration of everything that I've said. And, healthy boundaries can be used in every facet of our life. If it is work, home, marriage, kids, I think that we're all a work in progress. I tell all my clients this, and it's just the practicing of it. So, and that's me. And I think did I finish a couple minutes early?
You're great. And now we have time for some Q&A. Valerie, first off, one of the reasons I wanted to have you is that you are so authentic. You're so transparent, and all of us can relate to that. And I'm not, you know me, I don't just blow things out. So I thank you so much for that.
That's so sweet. You've made my week. Thank you. Thank you for asking me to do this. It's so weird for me not to see people. I'm a people person. I'm not like a typical therapist. I'm an extrovert. And I get my energy working the room. And I think that's been, I did a lot of business development and marketing sales, if you will. So maybe that's it. And I'm just so glad that you and I crossed paths many, many, many years ago.
Absolutely. Well, I do have a few questions for you. And as our participants, if you have questions, to go ahead and put them in the chat box. So one question we had for you, Valerie, was, oftentimes employees at various companies, they report they have optional activities that they feel that they actually must take part in. And so yesterday we spent a lot of time about how to build engagement, how do you get people to be involved in workplace wellness, but sometimes it's just not for them. And so we need to honor that as well. So what approaches would you take to communicate your boundaries in scenarios like this? Like there's activities at work that you just feel are not for you, they don't fit your family, don't fit that work-life balance. What approach would you advise folks to take to communicate boundaries in scenarios like that?
So I think that's an interesting question, because I think you mentioned a word in there, optional. So to me, if something is optional, that is something that I can opt out of. Again, I think using, assertive communication skills with this, it's I feel like I can't really do this at this time. This is not for my life right now. I have this. I think it's all just communicating what our needs and wants are, and not making the assumptions, not the fortune telling. And it's that there would be a boundary, speaking to your immediate supervisor, that I see this as optional. I feel right now at this time, and maybe that is a door left open, but maybe in the future I can do this, but right now I just can't. So I think it's just the one thing I had there: communicate. That's what we need to do in a situation like that. And is there going to be a resolution that is 100% for everyone? No. Sometimes we're going to have a compromise, and it's like the C's, right? Communicate and compromise.
I think that's so valuable too, because I know some of the ruminations that I had in my head is like, I know I can say this, I know I can say it assertively, but I can't control how they're going to accept it. So, they may nod and smile at me and then go talk behind my back about something, and like, why can't she be there? What's going on in her family? What's going on in her life that she can't manage this activity? Why is she not a team player? But that's that boundary for myself of like, I can't control that their thought. I can't control their responses to me. So all of that, everything of your presentation was just so relevant of how workplaces unfortunately work sometimes.
Can I just mention the control? I love what you said, and I didn't put that in the presentation. It's control, cause, and change. I can't control it. I can't change how they react. I didn't cause their reaction, but I can control how I react. That is in our locus of control. So I love what you said there. You could have done this presentation, dear.
No, I didn't get that written down. Could you say that again for me?
Right. It is. I can't control it. I didn't cause it. I can't change it. And what I'm referring to is the way somebody, react, or the way somebody says something to you or a situation. But what you can do is you can control how you react to it.
Sure.
That makes sense?
Awesome. Yes, absolutely. So the next question I have for you is that in the spirit of open communication, we always want to open this up with questions and discussion for our audience. So please be sure to enter your questions into the chat box. But it seems like every situation is usually so unique. And we get case studies from all of you that would be fascinating and effective way to approach this. So does anyone else within the group have any experiences with workplace boundaries, maybe a situation or a difficult boss that you want to examine, or you think would really highlight some of the concepts that Valerie shared with workplace boundaries? And of course, we don't want to share specific names and workplaces and so forth. Keep it kind of neutral. But I think that especially since we have the benefit of having a smaller group, so throwing out your own experiences and sharing those with the group at this point. I know that we have some HR people that probably have some stories that would be helpful to share.
I recognize an HR person that I used to work with. Hi, Keith.
All right, well, I'm not going to force anyone that vulnerability of that question. Valerie, thank you so much again for your authenticity, for your transparency. And we will be sharing all of those, your presentation and the video next week. Encourage you to go visit our exhibit hall. Our vendors really went to bat for us, and if you just fill out their contact form, it enters you into some pretty neat raffle items. And to thank our Community Strong Commissioners of BJC St. Peter's, Progress West, SSM St. Charles County, Mercy, St. Luke's, and EDC.